So how is everybody this morning? Is everybody enjoying your summer so far? Yeah, Mindy and I were glad that we finally get to experience a real Madison summer. Mindy will sometimes say to me, I don't remember what we did last summer. I'm like, it's because we did nothing last summer. I think every once in a while we needed to get out of the house, so we would find a place where we could grab coffee, and then we'd drive down, go around the Capitol Square, and then go home. I mean, there wasn't a lot to do. But anyway, so we're glad to be able to experience a real Madison summer, and it's been a lot of fun. It did not disappoint. Everybody would always tell me, hey, Madison's got all these festivals and all this kind of cool stuff going on in the summer, so it has not disappointed. So I figured I should let everybody know that. I've given you a hard enough time about the Packers. I feel I should say something nice. So. But anyway, so today's going to be a little bit of a different kind of talk. And I began to think about, I like to do series sometimes. And so I started thinking about how a small series of talks would be good. And, of course, what do you know? I put it out there and the universe provides. Because I was looking at my bookshelf and I happened upon a copy of my The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. And I began reading through the first couple of chapters and I started wondering how I might frame or convey the information that I was reading there. So I'm going to share what I started writing today for today's talk, just kind of just my thoughts as they kind of started coming to me. So I want to start off by giving everybody a little bit of food for thought. I know how I like to start off with a question of some kind usually, but let's stop for a moment and everybody just kind of take a look around the room. And as you look around the room, just kind of notice the people that are sitting next to you, and then maybe the people that are sitting a few rows over, and maybe even those sitting on the other side of the sanctuary. And those of you at home, just kind of imagine all the people that are watching the live stream with you, or all of the people that are in the sanctuary today, and all the people that you're sharing this moment with. And now let's think a little bit about the sights and the sounds of wherever you are. What's the light like where you are? Is it dim in the room? Is it bright in the room to you? How does the light look to you? What about the temperature? How does it feel to you? Does it feel too hot? Does it feel too cold? Does it feel just right? Now I'm going to take this a step further, and I'm going to share a revelation. Many of us are sitting in the same room right now. Many of us are, watching online. We're watching this same talk right now. You've all likely seen me standing here, noticed me standing here, noticed that my shirt's blue, that I have a jacket on. I know Heather said something about my jacket earlier. But I will also share that not one of us is having the same exact experience. We might all be looking at the same thing, but not one of us is having the same exact experience right now. Each and every one of us right now is having an experience that no one else can share, because the experience we are each having right now is our very own. Because your experience that you're having right now in any time is based upon your own perception of each and every moment. Because the perception we are having each and every moment, this perception we are having is a dream. And in this dream, your dream, it is yours, and you are creating it right now. I'm not creating yours, and you're not creating mine. You're creating yours, and I'm creating mine. That's a real mind bender, isn't it? This is some heavy stuff today. Don Miguel Ruiz provides some heavy stuff, and I really like that, though. But as we begin to move further and to think further, the plot starts to even thicken even more. The web we weave in this moment grows and becomes even more convoluted. The puzzle starts growing a little larger. The clues we thought we'd mastered begin to throw us off course a little bit, making us wonder if there is indeed an ultimate answer to even be solved. But there's another catch. You have the power to create. And in that power, you have the power to find your way out of that web. You have the power to solve that puzzle in any way that you wish, however you wish, because the story is yours. So has anyone here ever heard of or played that game Dungeons and Dragons? I used to love that game when I was a kid, and I've even played it some as an adult. But in the game, there's a person who plays the role of the dungeon master. And this person narrates the story as the players move along. He or she creates the story, the characters, the plot, the twists and the turns that are in the story. But what if we don't even need a dungeon master at all? What if we can be our very own dungeon master? Because we all create the stories of our lives. From moment to moment, we are creating a story. Each person in our lives, each moment in our lives is all a part of that story. Right now, everyone that you're sitting in here with is all a part of your story. And think about a writer, if you will. The writer sits down with pen, paper, or a computer and starts to set the scene of the story that they're going to write about. And of course, the scene wouldn't be worth much without the characters placed within each scene, right? Then the writer starts to describe each of the characters and their place and roles within that story. This character does this and that. Therefore, this character is the bad one, or the antagonist, if you will. Now this one over here does this or that, so that character is the good character, the hero, if you will. And on it goes for each character of the story. They're being assigned a role, good, bad. But we aren't writers when we create our own lives, are we? We are living our lives from day to day and moment to moment. Yet we still do it very much the same as a writer would. We view life through the lens of our very own perceptions. The people and the events of our lives are all very much a part of our story. This person here is good. This person here is bad. We're always putting labels on each of our characters. And we all start off as small children, right? And as children, there's nothing that really bothers us too much, right? We have no preconceived notions of how things are supposed to be. They just are. Or at least later taught how things are supposed to be. We wear clothes that we're comfortable in and clothes that we like, not thinking much of it until somebody tells us that our favorite pair of shoes is ugly. Or that the hairstyle we choose to wear isn't very becoming for the shape of our face or whatever it is. We later begin to date as we go into our teen years and find ourselves on our very best behavior. And even as adults, we date, people date, and you find yourself on your very best behavior. We're trying to get the other person to like us, and not just like us, but make sure that they stay in like with us, right? So we put on this false persona. We start acting like someone we aren't. We try and we attempt to hide who it is we really are because we fear that the person we're trying to impress wouldn't like us if we showed our true form right away, right? Or wouldn't accept us if we showed our authenticity early on. And of course, it goes beyond dating. It's with everything we learn from an early age to be and to act like someone different or something different than we really are. So in his book, The Mastery of Love, Don Miguel Ruiz says, so many humans are suffering because all of the false images we try to project. Humans pretend to be something very important, but at the same time, we believe we are nothing. He goes on to say, we try so hard to be important, to be a winner, to be powerful, to be rich, to be famous, to express our personal dream, and to impose our dream onto every other person around us. Why? Because humans believe the dream is real, and we take it very seriously. So there's talk of that dream again. Now, of course, by now, we all know that dreams vary, don't they? Some of our dreams are good, and some of them, probably not really so much. Sometimes you wake up from a dream and you think to yourself, wow, that was an awesome dream. I was learning to fly, or, I was a famous rock star, or I solved world hunger, whatever it was. And some you're just happy to get out of, right? You wake up and you're like, whew, I am glad that was just a dream. Because usually it's something that we fear something that we fear is taking place in the dream, right? Maybe we were being chased, or maybe someone you loved had left you, or you'd lost your job, or whatever it is. Whatever it was, fear was at the base of it all, pouring fuel on an already hot fire. And at the root, fear has laid a foundation in our lives during the times that we're out of sleep as well, right? During the time that we're in this dream instead. Now, Mr. Ruiz talks about something called the loss of innocence. And see, all of the things that I've mentioned here so far today, fear, perception, the stories we tell ourselves, the roles we assign to the other characters in our story. All of it is based on this dream that is driven by fear. Fear that has created what Mr. Ruiz calls the loss of innocence. So none of us were born with this fear that so often takes the helm in our lives. We aren't born with judgment. We don't enter into this lifetime with those things. We enter into this life with an innocence, and in that innocence, there is no judgment and there is no fear. We learn fear and we learn judgment. So I remember back to my second grade year in school, and my teacher, Mrs. Malone, I still haven't forgotten her to this day. She was such a sweet and loving teacher, and I still remember what she looked like, the clothes she wore. But I also remember that she was patient, she was kind. And I remember the last day of school, we were all the kids were lined up and we were leaving the classroom, and Mrs. Malone was she was kind of squatted down to our level, and she was giving all of the kids hugs as we left the classroom. And my turn came and I hugged her and I just burst into tears. I started crying. And I remember looking at Mrs. Malone, and she had tears in her eyes too. But the thing about Mrs. Malone is that she stood out to most adults in my conservative West Texas town because her skin color was black. And I don't even recall noticing that Mrs. Malone was black until somebody mentioned it, until I heard an adult mention it. The innocence of a child. That innocence there until the world steps in. And that's the way it is with most things, isn't it? We're innocent until we lose our innocence. But losing our innocence, it's not always a bad thing, right? Sometimes children are playing and they're running closer and closer to the street. And before long, the kid knocks the ball out into the street, and another child runs to go get it and runs right in front of a car, and the car has to slam on their brakes to keep from hitting the child. And sure enough, mom or dad are going to come out of the house about that time and scold the child, letting him or her know that it's not good to run out to the street like that, especially without looking both ways before you run out into the street. So from that moment forward, the child views the street as a sign of danger, as a dangerous place to be avoided, especially without looking both ways. The innocence of the street is now gone, so it's not always a bad thing. But see, fear is also used on people as a means of control. And then it's not always so good, is it? Fear of people due to differences in skin color, or people that were born in other countries. Fear that you love someone different than I would love. The thing we need to realize, and the only thing that I invite you to realize and to know right now in this moment, is that there is no reason to judge. There's no reason to fear. And there's no reason to assign your characters the roles of good and bad. No need to judge this moment as anything but just this moment. Now, the thing you need to know, in the words of Mr. Ruiz, and I'm going to paraphrase here, but he says, life brings you exactly what you need. There is nothing to blame. We can even say that our suffering is a gift. If you just open your eyes and see what is around you, it's exactly what you need to clean your poison, to heal your wounds, and to accept yourself. And it's also time that we begin to understand that each and every one of us in this room is our very own dungeon master, the storyteller and the creator of our own dream. And as a creator, we all have the power to create and to rule our own lives. And that includes the perception that we have towards the experiences in our lives. So we all have the power to create our own stories, just like we're doing right now in this very moment. So I invite you to continue to join me on this journey as we take this journey over the next several weeks, this journey of love, this journey towards the mastery of love. Namaste.